I wanted to do a couple of things. I wanted to look at the math standards so that we can review those, and I wanted to look at the counseling folder that the school has offered. For the most part, I've been able to see most of my kiddos, and most of my kiddos seem they seem adjusted, they seem okay, they don't seem overwhelmed or sad or angry. Their Flipgrid sound really good. Today when I talked to them about when we're doing comparisons of the Goldilocks and the Three Bears, most kids are still really happy and just engaged in everything. But I do want us to like take into consideration that being inside is kind of hard, you know, for them, or being away from their friends. So just to look out for any signs that they're just like frustrated or sad or angry. Just about that. Buenas tardes, señora, ¿cómo está?
Hola, buenas tardes. Bien, gracias.
Estoy diciendo que voy a repasar las destrezas de matemáticas y luego también voy a repasar, voy a enseñarles la carpeta en donde están todos los recursos para cualquier problema de emocional que tengan los niños. Entonces voy a repasar primero lo que es la matemática. Voy a compartir. Okay, entonces the first one is I can count to 100. So almost all of my kids can count to 100. A few of my kids forget, and they sometimes they're just forgetting how to count to 100. So that's one of the expectations. The next one is I can count forward from a given number. So today we were doing counting in between or counting forward. We were doing mystery numbers, and this I can count forward from any given number up to 20. So the standard doesn't say it, but it's up to 20. So they have to be able, if I give them 13, they can count forward. So it's really up to 20, but we always want them to go all the way to 100, so that if I give them 75, they know 76, 77, 78. That's a little push. But the goal, the real standard is up to 20. So we want them to be able to do that. I can count to 100 by tens. I think all of them did it because for day 100, they had to do with their necklace. I can count objects and tell how many. This is called cardinality, like that they're able to count things. And even though it sounds like really elementary, well, we started back there. We started where the kids weren't able to do this, and now they can. They're able to count. But even this is like the practice of counting collections, where they're able to count and do it, because sometimes they skip things, sometimes they go too fast, sometimes they don't touch things and they move them over, or sometimes at the very beginning they just want to count by looking without touching and having a strategy. So that's important. I can write numbers from 0 to 20. So all of our kids can write to 100. But sometimes we do have kids that can't, but the goal is to 20, which is really easy for our kids to do. I can compare groups of objects less than, more than, or equal to. All of our kids have been able to do this one. You have all seen me do this on the assessments. So they can do that. And this one's almost the same. This is, I can compare stuff, objects, and this is, I can compare numbers. So what is equal to, less than, greater than. Then the next one is I can add. They should add up until 10. So 6 plus 4, nothing more than 10. Like, do we want them to add more than 10? Sure. But the goal is for them to be able to add up to 10 and also subtract from 10. 10 minus 1, 9 minus 7, numbers up to 10. I can solve a word problem. So we had a lot of word problems around January, February, March, where we were sending like a word problem every week and they were working on it. Subtraction ones, adding ones, comparing ones. But this is something that is very hard for them. So word problems is one of the hardest, and the counting of the collection is the hardest, because when we tell them a problem, it's difficult for them to understand what's the question asking. And so most of the time we've had to act it out. We have to act it out and use manipulatives so that we can do the problems. And a lot of times I use like things that they are excited about, and they're the names of friends. Like Gaia had 7 video games in her backpack, but someone took 3 out. How many does she have now? Or things like that. So she had to, those are, I used names of the students, but word problem is a hard one. I can find the number that makes 10. So if you're given a number, and this is called the 10 frame, like this is 7, we know we have to find out how many more do we need to get to 10. What combinations make 10? 5 plus 5, 4 plus 6, 6 plus 4. It says I can decompose numbers into pairs. And so that one is 5 is also 4 plus 1, or 5 can also mean 2 plus 3. Just find different combinations for the same number. Like 6 can be 3 plus 3, 1 plus 5, 4 plus 2. Decomposing means breaking up the same number. I can make numbers with 10s and 1s. So I think, I don't know if you've seen how sometimes I do it when we're trying to find out how many days we have left of school. We'll count how many days, and then we have 10 plus 10 plus 2 more, it'll be 22. So the same thing, they have a 10 frame, and then they have more, and they have to put it together, like 10 and then some more. I can describe characteristics. Raise your hand if you don't understand one. I can describe characteristics of objects. Oh, this also has to do with language, like it's round, it has a circle, it's orange, it's large, it's medium, it's small. It's math and language in the same, it's both, it's kind of like a double standard. I can describe and compare objects with measurable attributes. So we did that one. That's the one we did last week. It's heavy, it's light, it's short, it's tall, right? And this is the one that we're doing this week. I can sort objects into groups. So all the blues, all the greens, and there's 3 ways that we really want them to sort. We want them to sort by color, shape, and size. Color, shape, and size. So all the ones that are the same color, all the ones that are the same shape, all the ones that are the same size, all the small, all the mediums, all the large. I can name 3D shapes. So we did that one together too, right? In distance learning, where they had to learn 3D shapes, show me examples of 3D shapes, and possibly do Play-Doh with 3D shapes. I can name the position of objects. This is another one that's math, but it's also language. Above, under, and so that one we did in the classroom before we went out, but we've been working on it. We talked about a box, and things can be above the box, around the box, next to the box. I can identify 2D shapes. 2D shapes are the flat ones, and we also did that together. Where we talked about them. We talked about vertices and flat and sides, and so the kids have gotten that one too. I can compare and analyze shapes. So we did talk about some that can roll, some are flat, some have 3 sides, and the kids are able to remember, for example, that the circle is round and it doesn't have a side or a corner. So it's not just knowing the name, but understanding how the shape looks, and that I think the next one is, or one of the next ones that I can use shapes to make other things. I can draw shapes in the world. So whenever we're drawing, we use different shapes. And we did that with our art project, right? Where we had to glue and make the animal out of shapes. So we did that one too. I can use names of shapes to describe objects in the environment. So an orange is round like a circle. And we've been doing that also when we were talking about our animal project, that it was in shapes. I can identify shapes in the world. So just in drawing and in doing other things, we have been talking a lot about shapes and how there are different things and shapes in the world, because we did the examples of a cylinder or a can, and they brought those to us. I can put shapes together to build larger shapes. This is something that we were doing in the classroom with patterning and with shapes, but now it's been hard because they don't have like shapes to manipulate. So we were starting to do shapes when everything started shutting down, but we started making just building and doing shapes with other shapes is always a good standard. I can tell that each number I count makes the quantity one larger. So this one's kind of hard, because when I say like, okay, I want you to tell me the number that is one more than 5. Sometimes it takes them a while to really understand what it means to do one more. And that one more will give us a bigger quantity. So what's one more than 6? Or 7 is 1 less than 8. That understanding, that one is really hard for them. And that's something that we do need to work on a little bit more. I can write the correct numeral to show how many are in a group. So it's not just recognizing the number or counting it orally, but also writing the number that they know that for a quantity. I can tell that the last number I say is the total number of objects I counted. So when the kids are little and they're counting 1, 2, 8, 9, 7, 4, 9, 6. And then you ask, well, how many? 12. That's because they still have not understood this standard. But now our kindergartners know that if they're counting things and they get to the number 17, it has 17 objects. So that's called cardinality. And our kindergartners now have it, but it's a kind of a developmental standard, where if you count a lot, you are able to understand that the last thing you counted, that's how many you have. I can show how the number of objects stays the same if the objects are arranged differently. So that is also has to do with like maturity and being able to manipulate things. Like when the kids are little, and if you move the shapes around and they counted 3 or 4, and if you move them around, they are not aware that it's still the same 4. So this one, it's in this one, it's in a straight line and they count 4, but is it going to be 4 in this way too? So our kindergartners, they definitely have that. Given a number, I can count out that many objects. So if I tell you a number 17, you can bring out 17 things. So it seems like it's the same standard over and over, but it's a different standard. It's a different task every time. Like I can verbally count to 100. I can write the number. I can show you, I can count out the number, I can identify the number, I can count forward from the number, I can bring out that many shapes. So it seems like it's the same thing, but it's different different tasks. I can count objects that are arranged in different ways, which is the same as this one, right? I can show how the number of objects stays the same if the objects are arranged differently. very similar. And that's it for math. The language arts was so much longer, right?
Mm-hmm.
It really was. So let me share. This is the Cabrillo distance folder that you guys go to. And in here, there's this third folder is counseling resources for parents. So the parents can go in there, and I just want to look at some of them. They were trying to put things in order. This one's for behavior support. This for disability specific sources. So if our child is autistic or they need speech or something, we would go into that one. Social skills lessons, let's look in there. Communication activities, helping siblings get along. Ooh, I need that one. I need that one. My siblings don't get along, my little kids. Let's see. Some in Spanish. Los padres ayudan a animar el éxito social en sus hogares. Parents encourage social skills at home. Oh, that's a good one because sometimes, ooh, tips for parents to teach social skills in children. Tips for parents to teach social skills in children. What are social skills? Be responsible, follow rules, get along with others. Oh, good, good. So, model, practice, reinforce. That's easy. That's something similar to what we were talking about. Social skill games for kids. So one of the ones that I'm thinking about, that it's really important for like communication and knowing if your child is like is doing well emotionally at home. And I think that one of like the most important thing is watching what their behavior is and starting to think, because sometimes we want to think that what our child is doing is just misbehaving. They're just being naughty. They don't want to listen. They're being rebellious and they're not doing. But sometimes we as parents have to like pay attention to what they're doing and start really thinking like, why is it that they're doing? Are they tired? Are they like, do they have a ton of energy inside? Are they upset? Are they feeling frustrated because they can't do the work the way that they should be wanting to do it? So you've got to listen with your eyes. You see what I'm saying? You got to listen and think, but you have to be able to really think about your child and what that child is doing. And I have to do that as a teacher all the time. So like I said before, at the very beginning, the first week of school, I let the kids do almost, you know, like they have rules and we have things to do, but I want them to sit, you know, and on the carpet. They sit wherever they want to sit. I want to be able to watch what their behaviors are and how they're feeling and how they're reacting to certain things, so that I can think, hey, and I'll talk to parents, hey, I've noticed that so-and-so has been crying when it's time for us to write. Every time we're gonna write, your child starts to cry. Do you know anything about that? So I have to start thinking, why is it that this child is crying? It could be that that's the time of the day that that child has to go to the restroom and they're scared of the bathroom, right? And it's at the same time as writing time. What if that's what it is? What if they're scared of the bathroom and they don't want to go to the bathroom and they're crying? Or what if they're just frustrated with crying? Or what if they're hungry? So I can't always just assume that they hate writing, or I can't always assume that they're upset at something or tired or want to go home. We've got to like think about like other things. And I think like just the communication with them is important. And do any of you have any like examples to share about what I'm talking about at home? ¿Alguno de ustedes tiene algún ejemplo que compartir de que están viendo algún cambio con los niños ahora que están en casa, o algo que ven diferente y están pensando, es que quizás se está comportando de esta manera o de alguna otra manera? ¿No?
I mean, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
And the girls, when they're just cooped up here at home the whole time, they just start just bickering and fighting with each other even more. That's when I know I gotta like pull the plug, take them outside, let them run, let them do whatever they want. They just feeling cooped up in the house all the time. It just gets them like fighting together all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the same thing with my kids. I feel like because there isn't any way for us to wind down. I mean, we would normally go to the park or do some extra activities. So, you know, bath time and going to sleep is not so hard. And now since we're so limited, it's like, oh, I'm getting bored of doing this, or why can't we go somewhere? I can see in both of them that they're starting to get really, really frustrated. And I'm kind of like running out of ideas to entertain them and keep them occupied and then keep them focused with school. You know, it's kind of like, when am I going to school? Or like, when is, you know, it's like, why am I doing this? And I have an older daughter, so for her, she kind of is seeing this to be pointless. So that's really hard.
Yeah, not having an actual motivation is really hard, you know, and that's what this is so unprecedented in the way that it's really hard for us to find just things to keep them entertained, keep them happy, keep them motivated. And so there are definitely moments where it's just like we're feeling frustrated, overwhelmed, and tired of being here. But I think that what we've been doing at home is we've been making kind of like a idea list of things that we can do on the weekend. Like, do you guys have any bright ideas? So they kind of take responsibility, or you know, or they feel like it's part, you know, then if it's just us providing the entertainment, they have to kind of think of ideas. So one of them said, well, I want to go camping. And so we're like, okay, let's go camp in the front yard. And so
Right.
you know, and we did a bonfire and we camped out there, and we were out there and we slept out there. So that, and it motivated them, you know, because we're like, well, we don't have any s'mores. I'm like, well, I'm not gonna go to the store, but let's see what we can do, and we're gonna do a quarantine s'more. So we've got to go look, and we found like old candy bars and some ricanelas crackers and stuff like that, and we just found anything we could find in our house. And I found a little bag of old marshmallows. We used those guys too, and it made them happy, you know. And so then after that, the baby was like, I want fire. I want fire. Daddy, I want fire again. And it just made them, you know, just a little bit. And sometimes it feels like they do get really angry at each other and angry with us, and we're angry at each other. But it seems like when we take that walk or when we go outside, even if they're like so angry because we're pushing them out and we're like, we're gonna go on a walk and we're taking the dog and you're going with us, and they're super angry at us, once they're out there, it just like, it makes them feel better, you know? Like one day my son was super angry and I'm like, we're gonna get in the car and we're gonna drive around the city. And where are we going? I don't know. We don't know where we're going, but we're gonna go somewhere. We're definitely gonna go. We went to go look at the Navy boat, the USS Mercy,
Mhm.
you know, the hospital ship.
Mhm.
So we went to go look at the hospital ship, and then we went to go daydream in PV and looked at all the fancy mansions over there. So, you know, and they come up with ideas of what they want us to do, and we come up with ideas too. And it just keeps them a little bit motivated. Also, just finding ways to interact with their friends, I think is really important. You know, like doing like just little play dates online, you know, or with their cousins or something like that. Keeps them a little bit more motivated. But yeah, I do see that. ¿Usted, señora, ve que está haciendo un cambio, Joana, de su
Pues
comportamiento?
sí, porque como pues nosotros la vamos a cuidar, entonces ella a veces dice que ya terminó su tarea y le dejamos porque ya le enseñamos también a la señora ahí donde más o menos que vaya chequeando los libros y eso, pero no, o sea, sí está al pendiente, pero no como si uno estuviera ahí. Entonces cuando ella le dice, no, pues ya terminé, o si andan los otros niños, ella se la lleva al cuarto porque pues en la sala están los otros niños, un ejemplo. Entonces ella le dice así, ya terminé, hace las cosas como rápido, todo mal, así que, y para irse a jugar. So, cuando yo llego, ella me dice, ¿ya terminó? Dice que ya terminó. Y le digo yo, cuando yo ya regreso a la casa con ella y le chequeo a veces, ya no quiere volver a hacerlo porque ella dice que ya lo hizo, pero le digo, si lo hiciste mal, ¿cómo te voy a dejar esto si está todo mal hecho? Entonces, y cuando llega aquí, tiene una vecina que se adoran, so ella quiere irse también a jugar con la vecinita aquí, porque ellas se quieren mucho, pero le digo yo, mi amor, y si no haces la tarea y solo quieres jugar allá y jugar aquí, ¿cuándo vamos a hacer la tarea? ¿Y cuándo la vamos a hacer bien? Porque, digo, si tú la haces bien allá donde te cuidan, tal vez sí tengas chance de ir un ratito a jugar aquí, porque ya la hizo bien en una sola vez. Pero sí está difícil en ese sentido, porque pues porque no podemos estar.
Porque no tienen también alguien a quién le tienen que responder. O sea, si
No, y luego
no tienen a la maestra,
y luego nos dijo el otro día, nos dijo, dice que ustedes ustedes no son como mi maestra. O sea, entonces nosotros le decimos, no somos tu maestra, pero estamos tratando de ayudarte, nosotros no podemos ser como ella, ¿me entiendes? Pero ellos como que se frustran en el sentido que ellos quisieran como una explicación diferente o unas palabras diferentes, pero ¿de dónde la vamos a agarrar si ustedes son especializados en eso, ¿me entiendes? Entonces, pero nosotros le decimos, pero mi amor, entiende que también nosotros tenemos que trabajar y hacemos lo posible por apoyarte, pero tú tienes que poner de tu parte.
Bueno, quiero hacerles saber que aunque si ustedes fueran maestros, no cambia. Mis hijos tienen una maestra en casa y a ellos no les importa, de todos modos dicen, tú no sabes. Es que tú no sabes, mamá, tú no sabes. Mi maestra sí sabe, tú no sabes, mamá. Entonces, no, aunque esté la maestra en casa, ellos no les importa. De todos modos, nunca va a ser como es su maestra. Entonces, eso sí es muy difícil para ellos y creo que esa es la batalla de esta situación. Una de las cosas que les digo a es que muchos padres de familia, o sea, todos estamos deseando que pudieran estar con su maestra, pero ahorita está tan difícil y esa es la razón porque digo, es que es importante que siempre estemos al tanto del comportamiento para poderles ayudarle a ellos ahorita en este tiempo. Pero yo lo que veo es que los niños, aunque parezca que van mal, la verdad que están bien. Yo la verdad no he recibido alguna noticia de algunos de los papás que digan, es que mi niño ya está muy triste o mi niño está llorando demasiado o mi niño está, se está sintiendo enfermo, está aislado de la gente. La verdad, esas son las razones por la cual yo quisiera compartir esto para que estemos más al tanto, por lo menos que lo tengamos en mente, el hecho de que su bienestar mental de los niños es también importante, al igual que de uno también. ¿Sí me entiende?
No, y sí, porque realmente, pues yo por eso también a veces, pues sí se entienden, la verdad, porque hasta uno a veces, no más que nosotros nos distraemos, Joana, nos distraemos pues como sea que salimos a trabajar, aunque pues es difícil, pero ellos, o sea, también hay que tratar de entender en ese punto, porque sí está difícil y es como usted dice, si ellos se sienten tristes o se sienten así como demasiado aburridos, no, por más que uno les quiera explicar algo, no van a tener las energías para captar las cosas y también pueden enfermarse y también está difícil eso, pero pues sí, estamos tratando.
Eso sí es cierto. Es
Sí.
cierto que todos se están tratando y le están haciendo un trabajo muy, muy bueno, la verdad, que están haciendo un trabajo bueno con los niños y aunque todo tiene que pasar, todo tiene que pasar, pero más que nada quería que vieran algunos de estos recursos, pero quiero que vean que hay varios recursos que se pueden usar, como uno para hablar sobre ellos, sobre el virus, o sea, hay diferentes cosas para que ustedes puedan, actividades de movimiento, todas estas cosas que les pueden dar ideas para cómo ayudarles a los niños en casa. Y también para ustedes, cualquier otro recurso que ustedes necesiten, como estas zonas de regulación. Esta es como para que los niños digan cómo se sienten y encuentren una manera, si están en la verde, están contentos, calmados, se sienten bien. Si están en la amarilla, están frustrados, tienen miedo, o sea, que se sienten que están moviéndose mucho. En la roja es de que están muy enojados o tienen mucho miedo, pero de esta manera ustedes quizás pueden ver esto y decir, ¿cómo te estás sintiendo ahora? ¿Te estás sintiendo? O el azul es que está muy triste, que está muy triste o está muy cansado o que está... Entonces, en estas maneras pueden ustedes ver, decir, oye, vamos a imprimir esto o queremos verlo aquí para que tú nos digas cómo te estás sintiendo. ¿Te estás sintiendo bien o te estás sintiendo un poquito cansada o tienes vergüenza o te sientes muy enojada, muy molesta? Porque creo que la manera mejor de ayudar a nuestros hijos con las emociones es cuando a veces no están en esta emoción pesada. Decir, ¿sabes qué? Vamos a dejar un momentito para que te calmes y después vamos a hablar sobre qué es lo que cómo te estás sintiendo. Porque los niños que son introvertidos y no están diciendo cómo se están sintiendo. Este bebé. Tan bonito.
Oh, gracias.
Entonces, eso más que nada es la manera que, o sea, poder enseñarles, digamos, cómo te estás sintiendo y mirar como un diagrama de esto se puede ver de antemano y decir, vente, vamos a ver esto para platicar y ya cuando tú te sientas en esta zona, tú puedes decir, mamá, me siento en una zona azul, me siento muy triste. Entonces, platicarlo de antemano, decir, oh, vamos a hablar sobre las zonas de regulación y qué es lo que podemos hacer en esas zonas de regulación. Por ejemplo, si te sientes estás muy enojada y muy molesta, puedes ir a tu cuarto y gritar adentro de tu almohada. Ve allá y grita dentro de tu almohada, así no molestas a nadie, no golpeas a nadie, pero vas y gritas y encuentras una manera de sacar el
sacarlo.
coraje, de sacar el coraje que tienes y si es necesario que llores, o sea, algunas veces los niños, nosotros tratamos de detener lo que sientan los sentimientos y eso no les ayuda cuando uno les dice, es que no se debe de sentir así. Pues quizás no se deben de sentir así, pero sí se sienten así. Entonces, decir, yo entiendo que te sientes muy molesta, entonces vamos a tratar de ayudarte. Ve a tu cuarto si quieres, o ponte a llorar, hazlo para que te puedas calmar sin tener que golpear a alguien o golpearte a ti misma o hacer algo, porque no me gusta que me golpees y no me gusta que golpees a tus hermanos. De esta manera, entonces, es una manera porque los niños, nuestros niños quizás no estén muy tristes, muy frustrados, pero sí tienen todos estos sentimientos de vez en cuando. También nosotros tenemos sentimientos amarillos y rojos y azules, ¿no? De todos colores. Entonces, es algo que en casa pueden empezar a practicar para ayudarles más. Y eso más que nada era lo que quería compartir con ustedes. Quería compartir estos recursos que están en las carpetas donde encuentran lo de todas las otras maestras. Pero sí es algo que el distrito nos está diciendo, pongan atención con los niños, pongan atención con su comportamiento, pongan atención que los papás no se sientan muy frustrados. Ahorita lo que siento frustración es en algunos de mis estudiantes que no tienen el internet, que no tienen a veces los recursos necesarios para sacar adelante la tarea o que a veces no pueden los papás. Entonces, para mí eso es lo más difícil, que a veces los papás tienen que ir a trabajar y no pueden estar con ellos. O no tienen internet o hay muchos niños en una sola familia y solamente tienen una computadora o dos. Eso para mí es lo que estoy sintiendo un poquito frustrada, pero trato de encontrar algunos recursos para las familias. Y es todo, creo. Qué mala es mi cámara se ve tan mal.
No, se
Sí,
ve bien.
ustedes se ven bien claritas y yo me veo bien borrosa.
Un poco borrosa, sí, no sé por qué se ve así.
Sí, pero es la cámara de esta computadora. Aquí tenía otra cámara, nomás que no sé dónde la dejé. Y a veces sirve y a veces no.
Para el otro martes la cambia a ver si era esa cámara.
A veces es la cámara, pero cuando le pongo una cámara nueva, a veces no quiere funcionar el micrófono de la cámara.
No, pero se ve bien, nomás poquito borroso, pero se ve bien.
Ay, me pongo lentes y me veo mejor. Bueno, gracias por todo.
Muchas gracias.
¿Tienen alguna otra pregunta sobre esta semana, sobre las lecciones de esta semana? Que estamos haciendo los 3 ositos de oro y los 3 ositos.
The only thing, Mrs. Rodriguez,
Eso es.
I think I recall you're gonna do the 3 little bears on a toilet paper roll, and if I'm not mistaken, on the homework it says to tape them on the diagram.
Oh, de los recitos de oro de la
Let me check.
del proyecto.
I think it says it. Let me
Y
check.
de las camas.
Let me check.
It would be on the green one on Thursday.
On Thursday?
Yeah.
Because on Thursday is the day that they have to oh my gosh, no, that's the chairs. Oh yeah, I see it. You're right. It says work in color and cut out the characters and paste on the diorama. No, not cool.
Yeah. I saw that. I'm like, oh, I don't think she meant that.
Okay, on toilet. Thank you. Toilet rolls. Okay, fixed. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Sometimes I'm tired. You know, and I just type away. All right, thank you for checking that. All right, ladies, muchísimas gracias. Thank you very much. ¿Qué me iba a preguntar, señora? ¿Me iba a preguntar algo?
Eso de los, es de los ricitos que dice de oro y de la, es de la, del paquete que habían mandado, ¿verdad?
Sí. Sí, es este, van a hacer la casita con
Ok.
la mesa y las sillas y las camas y luego van a hacer los personajes,
Ok.
los van a pegar en esto.
Ok.
Apenas encontré el cuarto. Lo había pegado en una caja de crayones.
Ok.
Entonces, esto, y luego va a ser un flip grid. Va a ser un flip grid, contándonos la historia.
Ok.
Y el de Joana es igual que la entrada de Lexia.
Sí, ahorita chequeamos, dice que no sabía, que no se acordaba, yo creo que se le había olvidado.
Es igual,
Ok.
es el nombre de Joana y el número.
Ok, está bien.
Sí, dale pues.
Ok,
Gracias.
muchas gracias.
Bye.
Feliz noche.
Buenas noches.
Buenas noches.
Muchas.